My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to TheAstroHistorian. This is a channel dedicated to exploring and explaining the lore of sci-fi and space universes, and discussing their impact. Today we'll be looking at the universe of Star Citizen, and talking about the alien response to the rise of the new UEE, the Aopoa santok.yāi. A ship that was likely developed to counter humanity's most premier dogfighter, meaning the Xi'an were preparing possibly for war with humanity. The story of the santok.yāi is the story of the lingering tensions between the UEE and Xi'an empires. No one quite knows when it was first built, but based on what we do know of the ship, it is highly likely that it was built for one specific job: to beat the F-7A Hornet in combat. One thing that all analysts agree on is that the current generation of Xi'an medium fighter was introduced around 2934. It's under this theory that Xi'an defensive military units could have been receiving this new fighter as early as 2915, with the Empire only choosing to reveal the design to Earth in 2934 in response to minor trade dispute a year before. Early in 2934, UEE signal intelligence began noting unexpected movement among Xi'an units stationed along the old Perry Line, with many existing medium fighter squadrons that were previously believed to have been on permanent assignment leaving after years on station. In December of that year, secondhand reports began to filter back, suggesting that sightings of the older Xi'an dogfighters had dropped sharply, and that a new design had begun to appear. This is in line with the highly regimented policies around ship replacement for the Xi'an Empire. Unlike human units, which typically slowly transition to new designs, the Xi'an has always taken a all-or-nothing approach, manufacturing spacecraft to a long-term schedule and replacing designs en masse so as to reduce the need to support older designs and streamline their logistics trains. The UEE was immediately concerned with both the overall political meaning of upgraded mainline dogfighters along their border and the potential threat offered by this new, unfamiliar fighter. The Navy was particularly concerned about this change, as it could mean issues with the, at the time, up-and-coming space superiority fighter, which we now know as the F-8A Lightning. As a result, they were especially keen to gather intelligence on this new Xi'an ship. The fighter was given the intelligence reporting name Ares, and all assets in the Xi'an sphere of influence were issued a memo instructing them to gather information wherever possible. The first reliable accounts of the Xi'an medium fighter came in 2937, when a Hornet on a training mission came within scanner range of a group of 6 on patrol. Information gathered in this encounter regarding the speed and maneuverability of the medium fighter confirmed existing theories that it operated an upgraded version of the dual-vector maneuvering thrusters found on the earlier Car-2All. Then, in April of 2938, a remote sensing outpost recorded a pair of Xi'an medium fighters coming to the rescue of a transport besieged by raiders outside of visual range. The sensor recording confirmed second-hand reports about the improved dual-thrust array, and most importantly, spectrum analysis revealed for the first time that the ship's centerline energy weapon was a model of laser repeater not yet encountered. Additional encounters with the Xi'an medium fighter were recorded throughout the late 2930s, each providing small clues to its overall capabilities, with other unspecified intelligence assets filling out the picture. Thanks to recently declassified military reports, we know that at the time, the UEE believed that the ship was at rough parity with the F-7A Hornet or the civilian model Super Hornet. This revelation is an unsettling one, as this would mean that the ship was likely developed specifically to counter humanity's most premier dogfighter, meaning the Xi'an were preparing possibly for war with humanity. In 2941, the military had their closest encounter with the Ares medium fighter. On the morning of September 24th, a secret manned reconnaissance outpost in the Yomon system detected a major explosion, which was quickly traced back to the orbit of one of the system's icy dwarf planets. Sensors indicated that a debris field had formed at the site of the explosion, with metallurgical analysis revealing that it most likely consisted of metals processed by the Xi'an. In addition to the debris field, there were 4 sensor tracks leading to the snowy planet itself, which were consistent with attempted soft landings by fighter-sized ships. The outpost's crew concluded that an accident aboard a Xi'an transport had stranded several short-range escort fighters, forcing them to crash land on the planet as onboard oxygen supplies diminished. The planet itself was far from both human and Xi'an settlements, and the base had not detected distress calls from any of the ships. Analysis suggested that even if Xi'an authorities knew the rough location of the crash, it would take some time for the ships to be declared overdue and for a rescue party to be deployed, possibly too long. Meanwhile, elements of a UEE Navy destroyer escort squadron were conducting space trials within communication range of the covert outpost. The base commander made the difficult call that the possibility of rescuing survivors was valuable enough to risk revealing the location of his outpost. As a result, he dispatched all available information to the destroyer group, prompting them to move into range of the crash sites to begin rescue operations. A pair of Argo MPUVs who were sent out to search the area were the first to find wreckage and confirmed that the ships in question were indeed the mysterious Xi'an medium fighters. 2 of the 4 fighters had suffered heavy damage in the initial explosion, and the resulting crash had completely destroyed them. The survey teams transmitted scans of the wreckage and moved to locate the other ships. One of the MPUVs found the 3rd fighter in better condition, as it seemed the ship had skidded to a stop on an icy plain. The human rescue team aboard began de-icing the wreck site in an attempt to quickly reach the pilot. Unfortunately, the work would end in tragedy when the industrial heating units set off what is believed to have been a still-armed munitions package on the ship's wing, destroying the entire site. As a result, all members of the first rescue team and the fighter's pilot were killed in the blast. Meanwhile, the second Argo discovered that the final escort had not crashed at all. They found the ship had landed safely on a stable plane. Tracks in the snow confirmed that the pilot had survived and was heading to reach his wingman. The surviving pilot was located by the MPUV and taken aboard, returning them to the escort squadron where he received medical care and ultimately returned to the Xi'an Empire. Despite the casualties, the incident was seen as a net positive for human-Xi'an relations, with the safe rescue of the surviving pilot. Military intelligence officers were not as happy, as they gained only a limited amount of useful information from the initial crash site scans. It's also heavily implied that the UEE Navy was unable to retrieve the one ship that survived due to recovering it causing probably a interstellar incident, and likely negating any diplomatic gains they would have gotten from rescuing the pilot. It seemed the UEE would never get its long-desired look at the Xi'an medium fighter in action. That was until a major reveal would occur at IAE 2948. It was there on November 28th. The Aopoa Council announced that the mysterious medium-class fighter was available for purchase. This rendered years of intelligence gathering obsolete, but allowed humanity the first hands-on information about the fighter. Aopoa's decision had seemingly been made after almost 3 decades of increasing Kar-2-Al sales to human concerns. The spacecraft, named the santok.yāi, was revealed at an opulent invitation-only gala, which broadly celebrated Xi'an culture. What the public saw was an impressive new Xi'an design, one the military already knew as the frontline medium fighter they had studied for over 10 years. As an export model, the santok.yāi is not a perfect match for the military spacecraft seen in the past, but it is similar enough in both design and capabilities that it can be said with certainty that it was derived from the call sign Ares medium fighter. The overall fuselage and flight configurations closely match recorded encounters with frontline medium fighter models. The dual-vector thrusters and laser repeaters included with the base civilian model also confirm what was already known about the ship. Additionally, all footage of the santok.yāi maneuvering has been within the limits of previous observations. Analysts have also noted, with some concern, that the santok.yāi's capabilities are so close to what is known about the Xi'an medium fighter that this sudden reveal strongly indicates that the military must have access to a more advanced model that has yet to be observed by military analysts. This means there is a more advanced version of this ship that is a potential hard counter to both the F-7A Hornet Mark II and the latest generation of space superiority fighters, the F-8A Lightning. As a result of this information, it's probably unsurprising that the United Empire of Earth was one of the first customers of the santok.yāi. Per Naval Office of Budget and Planning, the military was approved for the requisition of 9 of the spacecraft. If these examples follow the pattern of previous alien designs requisitioned by the military, these santok.yāis will likely be divided between engineering study, artifacts for disassembly, and for aggressor training. While the Empire does not formally acknowledge that it operates Xi'an or simulated Xi'an spacecraft in combat training, it has purchased Kar-2-al for unspecified research projects regularly since it was introduced to human space. Since its release into the human market, the santok.yāi has made a splash in the military and civilian worlds. Time will tell if it will live up to the hype of its Hornet killer status, but the civilian variant has already begun to turn heads since its official release in 2953. Nevertheless, the santok.yāi is a clear indication that though the Cold War between humanity and the Xi'an is over, the arms race between the two empires continues to rage on. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, think about tapping the like button, subscribing for more content, and hitting the bell icon to be notified when these release. I'd also like to thank those on screen now for supporting the channel financially. If you want to throw in a few credits, think about becoming a member on YouTube. And if you want a bit more for your contribution, join the Ko-fi or Patreon. Patreons and Ko-fi members get early, ad-free access to all videos, including exclusive early access to my long-running complete history of Star Citizen lore series. Check those out now in the top right if you want to know what you're getting. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on this video and on any other lore topics in the comments below. And as always, remember, ex historia ad astra.